Then, and before I get started, I just want to take a moment to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my YouTube channel. And with that being said, let's get on down to today's lecture, which is do not enter retirement in debt. Do not enter retirement. I don't care at what age you retire. Do not enter retirement on any debt. September this year will make 3 full years that I have been full retirement. I'm retired state government, I'm retired military, but September of 2023, I entered full retirement, people. And I have no debt, to be honest with you. However, 10 years before I retired, I sat down on paper and I developed a game plan, a strategy plan to eliminate all of my debt prior to retiring. I was able to retire from state government early, also retired military. But, and what I mean by debt rule, and I actually met my goal to be debt-free years before I retired, September 2023. But what I mean by debt is debt such as credit cards, student loans, personal loans, auto loans, home loans, furniture bill, and the list goes on and on. That is the type of debt I am talking about. And I made it my business to wipe out all of that kind of debt. I have no credit cards, bills. I don't own credit cards. I have in the past, but I have no credit card debt. I don't own credit cards. I have nothing in collections. I have no student loans. I have no medical bills. I have no auto loans. I have no home loan. I don't have those kind of bills, Rural. And because I can remember at one point, and I talk about this when I wrote my book, Awake Financial Freedom, when I can clearly remember from, I believe, 2007 to 2012 or 2008 to 2012, I was living in financial destruction. All of these bills that I rattle off, I had all of them and then some. So when I got time, I talk about this in my book, and this is a must-read book, by the way. But I talk about in my book, Awake Financial Freedom, that hit all major bookstores almost 4 years ago. I talked about my financial destruction. I talked about how I was drowning in a sea of debt, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And you know what? I got tired of living like that. I had a spiritual battle with God, I believe, in 2012 on a Friday, from Friday to Saturday, 24 hours. And I asked God to give me the skills to rise above my financial destruction, and the rest is history. So 10 years before I retired, I sat down on a piece of paper and I said, I'm going to come up with a plan to begin to wipe out my debt. Part of that game plan, God gave me the skills to pay off my 30-year mortgage 20 years early. You know, wiped out all of my credit card bills. You know, I can clearly remember. And one of the things I wrote down on my strategic plan 10 years before I retired, because I had student loan debt. One of the first, and I talk about this in my book, in one of my chapters, how one of the best financial decisions I made in this world, when I came up with that 10-year strategy plan to get out of debt, is to enroll myself 10 years prior to retiring. I wrote down on my strategy plan to enroll my behind in the federal student loan forgiveness program. That was a 10-year journey, people. That was a 10-year process of criteria that I had to meet within that loan forgiveness program in order to get the remaining balance of my federal student loan in the amount of $73,000 was wiped out August of 2023. And that set the stage for me to exit up out of this workforce in full retirement September of 2023. and the rest is history. So that's why I say I have no school loans. You know, I can clearly remember having multiple credit cards. I had bills and collections. I remember at one point I was behind in my federal student loans. I had personal loan, auto loan, mortgage. I had it all. In no way, I thought I was going to have to literally work myself to death, but I didn't, because God gave me the skills to put on paper, to come up with this exit plan, to eliminate all of my debt. And I did that years early, prior to retiring, September of 2023, debt-free, people. And I'm still debt-free. And what I mean by debt-free is I have none of those kind of bills. I have no medical bills. I have no credit cards. I have no collections. I have no school loans. I have no personal loans. I have no auto loans. I have no mortgage. I have no rent. I have nothing. The only bills I have in this world, and it's been this way for years, all prior, even before me hitting retirement, is the totality of my monthly bills every single month is a grand total of $410 a month. And that $410 a month, what that consists of is my internet bill, my cell phone bill, my utility bills, and my USAA insurance bill, because I'm a veteran. All of those 4 bills every single month that would be there every single month equals a grand total of $410 a month. Those are the bills that I only have in this world. My food bill can vary, but I'm talking about bills that must be paid every single month, a grand total of $410 are all only bills I have. That internet bill, my cell phone bill, my electrical bill, and my USA insurance bill, all that totals a grand total of $410, people. So that's why, because I entered retirement with no real debt, that's why I'm able to reclaim a large amount of my disposable income. I'm literally able to reinvest 100% of all of my retirement checks. And I've been in full retirement. September will make 3 years in full retirement, and I have not even touched any of my retirement money because I don't need it, because I have no real debt. That's power, people. And understand, rural, if I would have never shift my mindset way back in 2012 to rise above my financial situation, to write about my testimony, or rising above my financial situation, because when this book is in paperback version or audio version, a lot of times, I would sometimes reread my own book, Awake Financial Freedom, and I get chills down my spine, because sometimes I can't even believe I was this deep in debt. I was so deep in debt I couldn't even see straight. I was so deep in debt I was borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. I was so deep in debt from 2008 to 2012 I didn't have a penny to my name, let alone thinking about retirement. Real talk, people. This is real talk. And there are people who are in retirement because they entered retirement in debt. They literally have to go and get another full-time job to stay afloat. I know many people in that scenario. When you have a shift in your mindset and have the power and ability to control your money, to master your money at any age, that is power. Because in my early to mid 40s, I had to start over financially. I had to start over with building my retirement in 401 and building my nest egg all over again, coming out of my divorce, dead broke, credit score 340. So I had to rebuild my financial freedom in my early to mid 40s, people. In 2023, September of 2023, I was literally, because I was debt free, able to exit up out of this workforce forever. I don't have to hit nobody's time clock. And I did not learn any of these skills that I talk about, that I wrote in my book in terms of Awake Financial Freedom, I learned none of this in graduate school. I got 2 master's degrees. Only thing school taught me was how to get in debt. Federal student loan debt, credit card debt, debt after debt after debt. No, I ain't learned none of these skills in terms of how to master my money, to control my money, to respect my money, to maintain debt-free lifestyle. Because yeah, once you get there, you got to maintain it. You know, I've been living this debt-free change in my mindset since 2012, and I'm telling you, it is power. You know, I had a conversation with my niece today before this lecture, and I have told her on many occasions, you know, I don't know of too many regular, everyday people like me. I spent 41 years in the workforce. I don't know too many regular people who are in full retirement, and I mean full retirement, and able to turn around and reinvest 100% of their retirement income because their debt is so low. That's power, people. And what that does also is free up more disposable income so I can do many things on my bucket list as I continue to travel to see this world and to see all of the 7 wonders of the world, people. Debt-free people. This is real talk. This is a conversation. These are the type of lectures that is the core concept of my channel. That money piece, that financial piece, how to rise above your financial situation at any age. Because like I said, they didn't teach me none of these skills in undergrad. They didn't teach me none of these skills in graduate school in any shape, form, or fashion. It took me going through financial destruction and rising out of the ashes of my self-destruction to financial freedom, to get to this point in my life where I've been continuously using these skills, using my very same book as a resource to sustain my financial freedom and to maintain my debt-free lifestyle with a grand total of my monthly bills in its totality, and it's been this way for years, a grand total of $410 a month. And I was telling my niece, my goal is to go lower than that, people. I mean, my bills are so low to the point where it's scary, real talk. It's to the point where it's power when you can wake up every single day and you can spend a good 2 hours in prayer and meditate and outside in nature and going on walks and just enjoying life and smelling the roses, sipping your coffee without a care in the world, people. That's power. But it took me a lot to get to that point. It took skills to get to that point. It took using my own book as a resource to maintain my free lifestyle of no credit card bills, no medical bills, no collections, no school loan bills, no personal loan bills, no car note, no mortgage, no rent, no nothing in any shape, form, or fashion. Only bills I have is my internet, cell phone bill, electrical bill, and my USA insurance bill. 4 bills per month that I know that are gonna be there, that total a grand total of $410 a month. Real talk, people. And I want to give all grace and glory to the Almighty God. I want to give grace and glory to Him first for giving me the knowledge, the skills, the wisdom, and this faith to rise above my financial destruction that I was living in from 2008 to 2012. And the rest is history. Anybody can do this, because the amount of debt that I was in from 2008 to 2012, it's some. When I'm looking at some of these chapters, I'm like, my God, I'm like, you know, I couldn't even believe this. I was so behind in my debt at a certain point. I can remember back in 2008, I can clearly remember. I mean, it was a whole lot of debt going on. But I can clearly remember, I had a Honda at the time. I can clearly remember, I don't know why Honda ain't repossessed that car. I can clearly remember when I was living in financial destruction. At one point, my car note was behind 5 months, people. 5 months in the rears. My car note was 5 months behind in the rears. I had no way of paying that 5 months in arrears. I had no idea how I was going to pay that 5 months in arrears. All I did was month after month, I would call Honda and tell them I can't pay it. Then it got to a point where all I was able to pay was 1 month. Even though I paid that 1 month car note, I was still 5 months behind, people. 5 months behind in my car note. But I made sure I called Honda every single month and got a human voice on the phone, and I basically told them I can't pay the car note. And I really do think the only reason why they didn't repossess that car, because number one, I was calling every month, and number two, prior to being 5 months in the arrears on the car note, I had a perfect payment history. And once I just turned everything over to God, I remember another strategy plan that helped me get out of that financial structure when I got a part-time job. I remember then paying 2 car notes at a time, just get it out of the arrears, 2 car notes at a time to get it out of the arrears. So finally, I got that Honda car note current to where it needed to be. But I can clearly remember I was 5 months behind in my car payment when I was living in my financial disruption. I'm telling you, this is a needed topic. You know, in terms of this financial piece, I know many people, real talk, I know many people making 6 figures and $350,000 a year, 6 figures. If a 400 emergency was to occur, that person will not be able to handle a $400 emergency. Financial disruption is real talk, people. But if I can get out of it, I'm telling you, because my finances were jacked up. If I can get out of it, it is possible. And when I was going through all of that, I also want to credit God for giving me the ability and the wisdom to write my manuscript. This is a spiritual testimony in terms of my awakening my financial freedom. You know, and giving me the skills to write my manuscript, to have my manuscript. Never in my life wrote a book or had my manuscript accepted by 2 world-renowned publishing companies. My book hit all major bookstores well over 4 years ago, and no one could have told me I could have done this. But my spirit told me I got to put this in a manuscript in terms of the journey, the transition I went through to rise above my financial situation and to be able to sustain it. Again, graduate school ain't teach me none of this. Only thing graduate school taught my behind was how to get in debt. So this is real talk. Again, you know, like I said, you know, debt free is a powerful thing. I don't know too many full-grown adults in this world with a totality of their monthly bills $410 a month. But I know myself, that's what my bills are. In reality, people, that ain't on that. You know, I had a really good friend of mine literally told me the totality of all of your monthly bills. She literally told me her light bill higher than that. I'm just blown away. So again, share this information. Somebody might need to really hear this. And if you have not personally, this book been hit major bookstores. It's an audio version, paperback version, any version you want to get it in. If you have not checked out my book, Awake Financial Freedom, this is a powerful testimony on literally how Marie Holiday rose from financial destruction to 100% financial freedom. Sometimes, like I said, I use my own book as a reminder of how messed up my life was financially. No one could have ever told me I would have been retiring out of the workforce. September made 3 years with multiple retirement checks hitting me for the rest of my life. Literally, I would not have to hit nobody's time clock for the rest of my life because of the skills and the shift in mindset God gave me. That's all I have. Simple fidelity, and I'm going to leave you in the care of your own conscience. Have a great day.